Let's be honest. At some point, many people have either asked the question or considered the thought, should I buy a house in a gated community or should I just build my own place and enjoy my peace of mind? You scroll through Instagram and property listing websites and you see pictures of beautiful gated communities, and they normally showcase their paved roads, security at the gates, you'd see a gym and sometimes maybe a community swimming pool. And while the decision as to where to live often appears to be simply financial, there's often more to it. And you've got to consider your lifestyle needs and also your plans for the long term. I'm Desmond Kafui, and you're welcome to another episode of Ghana Ground Up. Today, we're talking about gated communities versus standalone houses. Two totally different things, two totally different lifestyles, very different experiences. And this is something every aspiring homeowner normally thinks about, but then they normally would not say it out loud. Now, the real question is this: which one is really worth it? Living in a gated community or living in a standalone house? Let's break it down. Let's start with gated communities. Now, over the years, gated communities have popped up across Accra and beyond, from East Legon Hills to Oyarifa, from Ayi Mensa to Pokwase, and even parts of Tema, especially Community 25. Now, you see property developers and agents advertising these estates like they are little pieces of heaven. And to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of appeal. You get security around the clock, and there's usually power backup, and also you have decent water supply systems, and the roads are very good, so they won't destroy your tires or your shocks. And some even come with fitted gyms, playground for the kids, pools, and clubhouses. And it's not just about buying a house anymore, it's more about buying into a lifestyle, a safe, clean, and modern environment. Now, let's face it, many people living abroad or returning home from the diaspora are drawn to these kinds of estates. And of course, why not? These places give you peace of mind, and you have a controlled environment and a community. And if you have a family, you'll definitely enjoy a gated community. Now, the kids can play safely, and often you'll end up knowing your neighbors very well. And if something breaks in the estates, you can just call on the estate office or probably the management office, and they'll come and get it sorted out. But all these comes at a cost, literally. Now, properties in gated communities are priced higher than similar standalone houses. And there's the monthly levies or service charges. And this particular subject is very unpleasant and can even make people rather choose to live outside a gated community than pay the service charge. Now, a service charge or the dues is just the maintenance fees you pay every month and sometimes quarterly or even annually. And paying this fee for most people can feel like paying rent. So you can imagine if you live in your own house, but then you're still paying rent. Now, before you dismiss the service charge as a trivial matter, bear in mind that depending on the estate you're living in, you can end up paying anywhere from, let's say, 200 Ghana cedis upwards to 2,000 Ghana cedis a month. Now, tell me this doesn't feel like you're paying rent. So yes, gated communities are very attractive, but then are they for everyone? Well, not quite. Now, let's talk about the beloved standalone house. For many Ghanaians, this is the dream. You buy your land, you design your house, preferably you get an architect to do it for you, and then you build your house the way you want it. And then when you're done, you move in and then you live the way you like. Enjoy yourself. Now, here you have no rules, no homeowners association to tell you to, let's say, repaint your walls because your color doesn't fit the theme in the area. And if you want to plant cassava in front of your house, that's all up to you. If you want to build a shop in front of your house or maybe have a garden at the backyard, it's your call. And cost-wise, standalone houses can also be far more affordable, especially if you already own the land. Now, an estate developer will normally put a markup on the prices of the properties that they're building, but then when you build your own house, you skip paying that markup, and you don't have to pay any maintenance fees as well. You build as you go. And maybe you start with 3 bedrooms and then maybe later you can expand, you can add another unit here and there. But then in an estate, you can't do that. You don't have the flexibility to do as you would if you were building by yourself. But it's not all roses when you build yourself. In this case, you have to be your own landlord and your own utility manager. And let's say if the road in your area is bad, well, that is your problem and not anybody else's to deal with. And concerning security, you may need to probably hire someone to watch over your house, maybe a watchman, or install your own CCTV. And when Ghana Water Company forgets your area exists, you better have a borehole or have a good relationship with the water tanker guys. Now, while standalone homes normally offer freedom and savings, they also come with more responsibility and also potential stress. So we made a case for gated community living and also having your own property or having your own place. Now, let's look at this in practical terms. So let's start with security. Let's take security for instance. Now, gated communities normally come out on top, hands down, and this is because they have the security post there to take care of, your safety and all that. And then at the security post, you have the guards, and there's also restricted access. So you can't just come into the estate and then make your way into someone's front door as you wish. You definitely have to go through some checks and some verifications. So if you live in a gated community, definitely you will sleep better. For standalone homes, it depends on your area and also what security measures you put in place yourself. Now, you're exposed to anything, you're also exposed to everything. And you can probably have a police station very close to where you live, but then it's not the same compared to the kind of security you enjoy when you're in a gated estate. And in this case, you're also fully responsible for your security. Whether you end up getting guard dogs, electric fencing, some barbed wires, motion sensors, whatever you do, it's all on you to bear, and you'll have to come up with some really detailed and well thought out plans to keep yourself safe, to keep your property safe, and to give yourself the peace of mind that you really need to enjoy your home. So in a sense, nobody's watching your back. But then this doesn't explicitly imply that when you live in a standalone house, you're not safe. Not at all. It all depends on the measures you put in place to ensure and guarantee your security. Now, let's look at the issue of property maintenance. In a gated estate, there's often the management team or the office, and they'll normally handle all the minor repairs and any issues that may come up over time. But then that comes with the monthly levies or the service charges that you end up paying. And in your own home, you fix what breaks when you can afford to, so you have some freedom. And that segues into the aspect of freedom. And when you're considering the freedom you get to enjoy, it's more of a no contest that standalone homes normally win, hands down. Now, you want to put a green roof, or let's say you want to tile your entire compound in gold, well, nobody's going to stop you. In an estate, you can't make any visible changes to your property without approval. And I know that this sounds weird and crazy, but then bear in mind that one of the principles that normally defines and also governs an estate is the uniformity of the buildings and also keeping to a defined theme that covers, let's say, the colors and also the general aesthetics of the houses in that estate. Beyond freedom, community and privacy are often key factors people also consider when they're choosing where to make their home. And gated estates offer a close-knit vibe, especially for young families. But then gated communities can also feel quite restrictive sometimes. Now, on the other hand, standalone homes are more private, but then you may end up feeling isolated depending on the neighborhood you find yourself in. Now, regardless of your choice, the cost of the property makes a huge difference. A house in a gated estate will often cost you more upfront because you are not just paying for the cost of the property, you're also paying for the developer's profit, and you're paying for the community that has been created for you, and you're also paying for the convenience and, most importantly, the lifestyle. But standalone houses can be cheaper, especially if you already own the land. But then when you have to finish the house and when you have to maintain the house, well, those can be stressful sometimes, but then that's all yours to bear. Now, here's where things get real. This is a truth nobody tells you. Not every gated estate is or will be as glamorous as is depicted in the marketing brochures. Some estates are poorly managed, and I'm sure you've seen what a well-managed estate looks like, and also what a bad management can do to a once beautiful gated community. Now, some estates may look maybe very beautiful from the outside, but then the facilities that are in there may already be falling apart maybe within a year or two of occupancy. And those service charges, they don't always translate to better service. If you're not minded about these things, you sell for just about any estate only to regret not paying a slightly higher price for a better managed community. Now, on the other hand, building your own house is no joke. and you have to deal with the stress, the site visits, the hidden costs, the workers you can't trust, and all that. But you need time, energy, and also a good team, or you'll end up aging faster than the building itself. Also know that gated communities tend to attract attention from higher income groups and also the diaspora. Now, there's a certain status associated with gated estates, but for many locals, the pride of ownership comes from building with your own hands and managing a project from foundation all the way to finishing it and actually moving in. So concerning what's really worth it, here's the truth. It depends on your priorities. Now, if you want structure, you want security, shared amenities, and minimal day-to-day stress, you may want to go for a gated community property. And it might probably cost you more, but then the convenience and the peace of mind could be worth it. On the other hand, if you want freedom, flexibility, and ownership on your own terms, and you don't mind managing the process by yourself, then the standalone home is calling your name. Both options come with their trade-offs, and neither of them is perfect. But then if you're clear on your values, your lifestyle, and your resources, you'll end up making the right decision. So where do you stand? Are you team gated estate or team standalone? Maybe you've experienced both and would like to know, what was it like, or what is it like? Let's say you're living in a gated estate now. What are some highlights and what are some downsides you've experienced? Or maybe you're living in a standalone property. We'd love to hear your experiences as well. Your comments, in addition to what we share here on the podcast, will be an aggregation of knowledge to help today and the times ahead as we build the Ghana we dream of. And who knows, sooner or later, you'll be settling into your dream home, whether gated or no gate. Share this episode with someone who is at a crossroad about deciding whether to buy a house in a gated community or probably buy land and build their own property. And if this episode gave you some insights and clarity, don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I'm Desmond Kafui, and many thanks for tuning in today. Stay safe, stay building. I'll catch you in the next one.